Ezekiel 27. The word of Hashem came to me, saying, Now, you, son of man, take up a lament for Tyre, and say to Tyre, which dwells at the harbors of the sea, merchant of the peoples to many islands, thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, Tyre, you have said, I am perfect in beauty. In the heart of the seas are your borders. Your builders perfected your beauty. Of cypress wood from Sinir they built you, all the planks. Cedar from Lebanon they took, to make a mast upon you. Of oaks from Bashan they made your oars. Your rudder they made of ivory, inlaid boxwood from the Kittite isles. Of embroidered Egyptian linen was your sail, to be an ensign for you. Of turquoise and purple from the isles of Elisha was your awning. The inhabitants of Sidon and Arvad were oarsmen for you. Your wise men, O Tyre, were within you. They were your helmsmen. The elders of Gebal and its wise men were within you, caulkers of your cracks. All the ships of the sea and their rowers were within you, to provide your merchandise. Persia, Lud, and Put were in your army, your men of war. They hung shield and helmet in you. They provided your beauty. The sons of Arvad and your army, up on your walls all around. And Gamadim were in your towers. They hung their shields upon your walls all around. They perfected your beauty. Tarshish was your merchant because of the multitude of every richness. With iron, silver, tin, and lead, they provided your wares. Javan, Tubal, and Meshech, they were your peddlers. With human soul and copper vessels, they provided your merchandise. From the house of Togarmah, horses, riders, and mules, they provided your wares. The men from Dedan were your peddlers. Many islands traded with you. Ivory tusks and peacocks they brought as your tribute. Aram was your merchant because of your great wealth, with carbuncle, purple wool, and embroidery. Fine linen, coral, and pearl, they provided your wares. Judah and the land of Israel, they were your peddlers. With wheat from Minnith, and balsam oil, honey, oil, and balm, they provided your merchandise. Damascus was your merchant because of your great wealth, because of the multitude of every richness. With wine from Helbon and white wool. Vedon and Javan provided your wares with fine yarn. Iron bars, cassia, and cane were among your merchandise. Dedan was your peddler, with exquisite clothes for riding. Arabia and all of Kedar's princes, they were your local merchants. With fatted sheep, rams, and he-goats, with these they were your merchants. The peddlers of Sheba and Ramah, they were your peddlers. With the best of every spice and every precious stone and gold, they provided your wares. Haran, Caneh, and Eden, the peddlers of Sheba, Ashur, and Media, were your peddlers. They were your peddlers in objects of perfection, in wraps of blue wool and embroidery, and treasures kept in chests, fastened with bands and cedar boxed, for your wares. The ships of Tarshish were your caravans for your merchandise. Thus you were filled and made very heavy in the heart of the seas, and to many waters your oarsmen brought you. The east wind has broken you in the heart of the seas. Your riches and your wares, your merchandise, your rowers and your sailors, the caulkers of your cracks and the providers of your merchandise, and all your men of war who are within you, and with your entire assembly that is in your midst. They will fall in the heart of the seas on the day of your downfall. At the sound of your sailors' cries, the surrounding areas will tremble. They will descend from their boats, all who grasp an oar, rowers and all sailors of the sea. They will stand upon the ground. They will let their voices to be heard about you, and they will cry out bitterly. They will put dust upon their heads and wallow in the ashes. They will tear out their hair for you and gird themselves in sackcloth. They will weep for you with embittered soul, bitter lamentation. They will take up for you a lament in their wailing and lament over you. Who is like Tyre? Who can compare to her in the midst of the sea? When your wares went forth from the seas, you satiated many peoples. With your abundant riches and with your merchandise, you enriched the kings of the earth. When you were broken by the seas, in the depths of the waters, your merchandise and all your assembly fell in your midst. All inhabitants of the islands became astonished over you. Their kings shook with trembling, their faces showing anguish. Merchants among the peoples whistled over you. You were a terror, but you shall be no more forever. Ezekiel 28. The word of Hashem came to me, saying, Son of man, say to the prince of Tyre, Thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, because your heart has grown proud, and you have said, I am God. I occupy the seat of God in the heart of the seas. But you are man and not a God, though you set your heart like the heart of God. Are you wiser than Daniel? Does no mystery perplex you? Through your wisdom and discernment, you have acquired wealth for yourself, and amassed gold and silver in your treasuries. Through your abundant wisdom in your commerce, you have increased your wealth, and your heart became proud with your wealth. Therefore, thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, because you have set your heart like the heart of God, therefore, behold, I am bringing foreigners upon you, the fiercest of the nations, and they will draw their swords against the beauty of your wisdom, and they will defile your splendor. They will bring you down to the grave, and you will die the death of the slain in the heart of the seas. Will you say, I am a god before your killer? You are a man, and not a god in the hand of your slayer. You will die the death of the uncircumcised by the hand of foreigners, because I have spoken the word of the Lord Hashem Elohim. The word of Hashem came to me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation over the king of Tyre. Say to him, Thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, You are a stamp of perfection, full of wisdom, perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Your canopy was of every precious stone, Odem, Pitta, and Yahalom, Tarshish, Shoham, and Yashpeh, Sapir, Nalfesh, and Barkas, and gold. The work of your drums and the wind instruments was in you. They were established on the day of your creation. You were a great sheltering cherub, and it is I who granted you this. You were upon the holy mountain of God. You walked among fiery stones. Perfect were you in your ways from the day of your creation, until wrongdoing was found in you. Because of your abundant commerce, your midst filled with injustice, and you sinned. So I desecrated you from the mountain of God, and destroyed you, O sheltering cherub, from among the fiery stones. Your heart became proud because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. So I have thrown you to the ground, and I have set you before kings to gaze upon you. By the multitude of your iniquities, by the dishonesty of your commerce, you desecrated your sanctities. So I drew out a fire from within you. It consumed you. Thus I made you into ashes upon the earth in the eyes of all who see you. All who knew you among the peoples were astonished over you. You were a terror, but you shall be no more forever. The word of Hashem came to me, saying, Son of man, direct your face towards Sidon, and prophesy against it. Say, Thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, Behold, I am against you, O Sidon. I will be honored within you, and they will know that I am Hashem, when I execute judgments upon her, and I become sanctified through her. I will send pestilence and blood into her streets. And the slain will fall within her when the sword comes upon her from all around. They will know that I am Hashem. Then there will no longer be for the house of Israel any harmful briar, nor painful thorn among all their surroundings, who despoil them. And they will know that I am the Lord Hashem Elohim. Thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, When I gather in the house of Israel from the peoples among whom they were scattered, then I will be sanctified through them in the eyes of the nations. And they will dwell on their land that I gave to my servant, to Jacob. They will dwell upon it in security, and build houses, and plant vineyards, and dwell in security, when I execute judgments upon all those who despoil them from all their surroundings. Then they will know that I am Hashem, their God. Ezekiel 29. In the 10th year, in the 10th month, on the 12th of the month, the word of Hashem came to me, saying, Son of man, direct your face towards Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and prophesy concerning him and concerning all of Egypt. Speak and say, Thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, Behold, I am against you, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, the great sea monster that crouches within its rivers, who has said, Mine is my river, and I have made myself powerful. I will attach hooks to your cheeks, and I will cause the fish of your rivers to cling to your scales. I will draw you out from within your rivers, and all the fish of your rivers will cling to your scales. And I will cast you into the wilderness, you and all the fish of your rivers. You will fall upon the surface of the open field. You will not be gathered in and not be collected together. I will present you as food to the beasts of the land and to the bird of the heavens. Then all the inhabitants of Egypt will know that I am Hashem, because they were a reed-like support for the house of Israel. Whenever they held you in their hand, you would snap, piercing their every shoulder. And whenever they leaned upon you, you would break and make their loins stand upright. Therefore, thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, Behold, I am bringing a sword against you, and I will eliminate from you man and animal. The land of Egypt will become desolate and a ruin. Then they will know that I am Hashem, because he said, The river is mine, and I have made it. Therefore, behold, I am against you and against your rivers, and I will make the land of Egypt into destroyed and desolate ruins, from the tower of Aswan to the border of Cush. The foot of a man will not traverse it, and the foot of an animal will not traverse it, and it will not be inhabited for 40 years. I will make the land of Egypt desolate among desolate lands, and its cities will be desolate among destroyed cities for 40 years. And I will scatter Egypt among the nations and disperse them through the lands. For thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, At the end of 40 years I will gather Egypt from the nations where they were scattered, and I will return the captivity of Egypt and bring them back to the land of Pathros, upon their native land, and they will be a lowly kingdom there. It will be the lowest of the kingdoms, and it will not exalt itself again above the nations, and I will diminish them so that they not dominate nations. They will no longer be a guarantor for the house of Israel, recalling their iniquity. When they looked to them for help, then they will know that I am the Lord Hashem Elohim. It happened in the 27th year, in the first month, on the first of the month, that the word of Hashem came to me, saying, Son of man, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylonia, has pressed his army to perform a difficult labor against Tyre. Every head was made bald, and every shoulder peeled. And he and his army had no reward from Tyre for the labor that they had performed against her. Therefore, thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, Behold, I am giving the land of Egypt to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylonia. He will carry off its multitude and seize its booty and take its plunder, and that will be the reward for his army. In return for the labor that he did there, I have given him the land of Egypt, the word of the Lord Hashem Elohim. On that day I will cause the pride of the house of Israel to sprout, and I will thus grant you an opening of the mouth in their midst, and they will know that I am Hashem. Ezekiel 30. The word of Hashem came to me, saying, Son of man, prophesy and say, Thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, Wail, woe for the day is close. The day of Hashem is close, a cloudy day. It will be a time for the nations. The sword will come up against Egypt. And there will be a trembling in Cush when the slain fall in Egypt. When they take away her multitude and her foundations are broken. Cush, Put, Lud, and all the people of mixed blood, and Cub, and the inhabitants of Egypt's allied lands will fall with them by the sword. Thus said Hashem, the supporters of Egypt will fall, and the pride of its power will collapse. From the tower of Aswan they will fall by the sword in her. The word of the Lord Hashem Elohim. They will become desolate among desolate lands, and its cities will be among ruined cities. Then they will know that I am Hashem, when I place a fire in Egypt, and all its helpers are smashed. On that day, messengers from me will go out in ships, to frighten secure Cush. And there will be a trembling among them on the day of Egypt, for it is coming. For thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, I will cause the multitude of Egypt to cease by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylonia. He and his people with him, the fiercest of nations, are being brought to destroy the land. They will draw their swords against Egypt and fill the land with slain. I will make the rivers dry and deliver the land into the hand of evil people. And I will make the land and all that fills it desolate by the hand of foreigners. I, Hashem, have spoken. Thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, I will destroy the idols and cause the false gods to cease from Noph. There will no longer be a ruler from the land of Egypt, and I will instill fear over the land of Egypt. I will make Pathros desolate and set a fire in Zoan, and I will execute punishments in No. I will pour out my wrath upon Sin, the stronghold of Egypt, and I will cut off the multitudes of No. I will set a fire in Egypt. Sin will tremble greatly. No will be split asunder, and Noph be set by enemies daily. The young men of Aven and Pi-beseth will fall by the sword, and they will go into captivity. And Tehapenes, the day will withhold light, when I break the rods of Egypt there. And the pride of her power will cease in her. A cloud will cover it, and its daughters will go into captivity. I will execute judgments in Egypt. Then they will know that I am Hashem. It happened in the 11th year, in the first month, on the 7th of the month, that the word of Hashem came to me, saying, Son of man, I have already broken an arm of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and behold, it has not been bound up to provide healing, to place a bandage, to bind it up, to strengthen it, so that it might grasp a sword. Therefore, thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, Behold, I am against Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and I will break his arms, the strong one and the broken one, and I will make the sword drop from his hand. I will scatter Egypt among the nations and disperse them among the lands. I will strengthen the arms of the king of Babylonia and put my sword in his hand. And I will break the arms of Pharaoh, and he will groan before him with the groans of the slain. I will support the arms of the king of Babylonia, but the arms of Pharaoh will drop. Then they will know that I am Hashem, when I put my sword in the hand of Babylonia's king, and he stretches it out over the land of Egypt. I will scatter Egypt among the nations and disperse them among the lands. Then they will know that I am Hashem. Ezekiel 31. It happened in the 11th year, in the 3rd month, on the 1st of the month, that the word of Hashem came to me, saying, Son of man, say to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and to his multitude, To whom do you liken yourself in your greatness? Behold, Assyria, a cedar in the Lebanon forest, with beautiful branches and a shady thickness, tall of stature, with its crown among the thick branches. Water nourished it, the depths elevated it. Its rivers flowed around its bed, and it sent forth its streams to all the trees of the field. Thus its height surpassed all the trees of the field. Its boughs multiplied, and its branches grew long when it sent them forth, because of the abundant waters. In its boughs every fowl of the heavens nested, and under its branches every beast of the field gave birth. In its shade dwelt all the many nations. It became beautiful in its greatness, in the length of its tendrils, for its roots were upon abundant waters. Even cedars could not obscure it in God's garden. Cypresses could not compare to its boughs, and chestnut trees were nothing like its branches. No tree in God's garden could compare to it in its beauty. I made it so beautiful with its abundant tendrils that it was envied by all the trees of Eden that were in God's garden. Therefore, thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, because you grew haughty in stature and put its crown among the thick branches, and its heart became proud of its height, I delivered him into the hand of the strongest of the nations, who dealt freely with him, commensurate with his wickedness. And I drove him out. Strangers, the fiercest of nations, cut it down and abandoned it. Its tendrils fell upon the mountains and in all the valleys, and its branches lay broken in all the channels of the earth. And all the nations of the earth departed from its shade and forsook it. Upon its ruins every bird of heaven rested, and upon its branches was every beast of the field. I did this so that none of the water-nourished trees should become haughty with their stature, and they should not place their crown among the thick branches. And the elms, as well as all the other trees that drink water, should not stand tall in their height. For they are all given over to death, and to the nethermost earth, in the midst of the children of man. Thus said the Lord Hashem Elohim, on the day he descended to the grave, I caused mourning. I constrained the depths because of him, and withheld its rivers, and the abundant waters ceased. I darkened the Lebanon because of him, and all the trees of the field grew faint because of him. I made the nations tremble at the sound of his fall, when I brought him down to the grave, with those who descend to the pit. Then all the trees of Eden were comforted in the nethermost earth, the choicest and best of the Lebanon, all those that drink water. They, too, descended with him to the grave, to those slain by the sword, along with his supporters who had dwelled in his protection among the nations. To whom did you thus liken yourself in glory and size among Eden's trees? Now you will be brought down with Eden's trees into the nethermost earth. You will lie among the uncircumcised, with the slain of the sword. This is Pharaoh and all his multitude, the word of the Lord Hashem Elohim.